Now, since Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs was sentenced to 50 months in prison, I thought it would only be right to start this video with a word from 50 Cent. What a coincidence, right? He wrote a letter to the judge and it goes as follows. Dear Judge Subramanian, I think that's how you pronounce that. I have had an ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He is very dangerous. Multiple times I have feared for my life. I think you should consider the safety of the general public, Your Honor, before unleashing him upon them. There hasn't been enough time for him to reform or make any adjustments despite his trying to teach a class in there. That's prison he's referring to. As you are already aware, the government has spent the maximum amount of money on deploying federal agencies, which appear to be an army in 2 locations simultaneously. Later, his son, who's dealing with his own grape allegations, claimed that the feds had hit the wrong house. What a mistake that was. Anyway, Diddy's only going to return to hire more male sex workers and keeping most of the baby oil away from the general public. I'm sorry, this dude is a fool. And babies need it. Babies need the baby oil. Of course they do. My Netflix doc on this scandalous subject is coming soon. Now, of course, 50 used this as an opportunity to promote his documentary that is supposed to be being released on Netflix. Probably wanted to wait and to see if Diddy was going to go to jail actually or not. But though he is being funny, I think something important should be highlighted in the way 50 is approaching this, with the trying to make light of it, the way the media is covering things, and the kind of weird world that we exist in right now today. Now, this was a Fed case. In Fed cases, first of all, they normally win on all counts that they charge an assailant with, most of the time. The fact that Diddy was only charged with the more lenient crimes, which was the prostitution in this case, they were not going to let him go. Now, when you see people in the media, this is my opinion, speaking on, oh, they're gonna let him go, oh, I don't see why. A lot of those people either participated in a lot of this stuff with Diddy, or they believe they have the same mindset as a Diddy would have, maybe not as extreme, but they have the same mindset. So when you see that, be careful of the messenger of that type of message, especially in hip hop media. I'm gonna digress on that point for now. But in my opinion, he did get off pretty light with the 50 months in jail, which is 4 years, 2 months. I'm not sure how much the time served will be applied to that. I'm guessing a year, so it'll be 3 years and some time. But as far as Diddy, you know, he's very contrite, as everybody who's caught and who's been to jail is contrite. Once you're caught, once you realize you're about to go into the slammer for real, the clarity is incredible, I'm sure. And the thing about it is, I grew up with people who had really hard lives. You know, his defense team tried to use that as an excuse. So Mr. Combs has been through this, been through that. There are plenty of people who grew up in real harsh realities and were born into real harsh realities, and they don't become these insane abusers and criminals. All right, so that is never an excuse, and it's unfortunate, and it says a lot about the society that we live in today, that people try to use that as an excuse for somebody like Diddy to do the things that he did. Now, he leaned into, when he gave his statement, his opportunity for redemption and being a father and his lesson learned and all those things. The problem with that is you could have done all those things without committing all these heinous acts, half of which he wasn't even charged for. Okay, there was illegal guns, there was illegal drugs. There's a lot of things that he skated with that could be brought back up in the future. When we get to this case, you know, the abuse and the racketeering and the RICO case and the sex trafficking, was just part of all the things that they found when they raided his place. Now, do I think part of this was to maybe cover up some things and some evidence he may have had to blackmail people? I think that is a strong possibility. But let's get to the thumbnail for a second and the images I have been showing during this video. There's a reason I'm showing those images of Diddy and 45. And that is because I believe they knew that Diddy was going to get some time when the charges were brought. There's no way the feds were going to let him go home. But the judge made a statement that I think is going to be important for not only this case, but for the future, where he said exploitation and violence against women must be met with real accountability to promote respect for the law. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think it's something that's going to apply in the future when we think of the Epstein files and the people whose names may be in those Epstein files from Jeffrey the Giraffe Epstein. Now, I have to say the person's name like that to avoid any kind of backlash from YouTube and things like that. So be ready. Everybody be ready for Trump to maybe pardon Diddy and let him out around campaign time for what should not be him running for office for a third time, but they are going to try to do that. But be ready for Trump to do that anyway. Be ready for that to be a possibility in the future, right? Because first of all, that statement by the judge, to me, lets us know that this is going to be applied in the future and in future Fed cases. And Diddy, I think, is just going to be the first piece, because on a smaller scale, a lot of what Diddy participated in, and it's different, don't get me wrong, he's not being accused of being with underage females or anything like that to that degree. But this sets up a sort of a precedent, so to speak, to at least put people away for some amount of time in the future. And there are a few people connected to the highest office in the land that are said to be a part or involved some way and somehow in the Jeffrey the Giraffe files. Put it like that. Moving on. Now, from a hip hop culture perspective, like I said earlier, we have to be careful of people who are trying to excuse Diddy's behavior and use a race thing and say, oh, well, you know, they get away with it. True. In some cases, they do. In many cases, they don't. Whoever the they is you are referring to. But the most important thing in this situation is protecting our goddamn women and children. All right? And protecting our people in general. People like Diddy and the things that he did do not need to be running around the street with a bunch of influence. All right? Period, point blank. This is a big chunk of watching the party die. Unfortunately for us in the time that we live in, many of the people with power and influence are or could be seen as being on the insane side of the spectrum of mental capacity, right? And they do a lot of crazy and unscrupulous things, and they have a lot of weird and crazy beliefs. And there's a lot that's going to come with, as Kendrick put it in that song, watching the party die. I think it's across the board, not just in entertainment and definitely not just in hip hop culture and rap music. There's a lot of foolishness that goes on, and these things are connected, as you are seeing. Scroll across the screen, right? Birds of a feather, as they say. So we have to be careful. We have to not be too surprised by anything we may see. We also have to not be too reactive and too emotionally invested in what is happening, but be looking forward to how we can not let these kind of things happen again, not let crazy people have this kind of influence again, and to really try to make the world a better place. One comment, video, post, vote, so many ways that we can impact. One book, one everything. However you can impact and have a positive influence on the world, do that. That's what we need right now. And in my opinion, the Diddy sentencing, him going to sit down for a nice little time, is something that he needs and is a positive step in the right direction for us correcting a lot of ills and a lot of wrongdoings of the past. And bottom line is, the ninja was acting a fool and he got what he deserved, and it could have been a lot worse. Okay, probably should have been a lot worse. We got to keep it real. And, you know, shout out to his family and all that. But hey, ninja, you did the crime, you got to do the time. All right? But anyway, let me know what y'all think in the comments below, man. Hit that like button if you haven't hit that like button yet. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Share this video. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Thank y'all for watching as always, and we out.